and CEO of Pepco Holdings. Joe, thanks for sitting down with us.
Nice to see you.
You were talking today about the importance of engaging the consumer in smart grid. Tell us a little bit about the things that you guys have been doing and the things that you found most successful in doing that.
Well, I think the point I was making earlier is that you have to meet people where they are, and you have to really use language that they can really relate to. And as it relates to how we're trying to connect with them, it goes from door hangers, it goes from focus groups, community meetings, Facebook, social media, Twitter. The whole commercials, print ads, the whole thing, because there are so many varieties, so many ways in which you can connect with customers, and on this particular issue, we want to use every possible channel we can get our hands on.
And so what is it that you want customers to do? You want to engage them, but what is it that they can do? How can they make smart grid successful and be a partner to you?
Right. Well, one is I think we really need to get past kind of the language barrier. We tend to talk in utility speak. So it's a matter of using the right words. But what I think we really want to get across to them is that directionally this is going to happen. It's hard to imagine in 10 years that we would still be using analog meters. So this is eventually going to happen, and to somewhat demystify all this, but put it in terms that where they can see the positives for them. And obviously what I think we've learned is that the real obvious positives that customers can relate to is really around reliability, quicker restoration, and improvement, and some cost reduction because of the operational efficiencies. I think it's probably too premature to get into explaining the impacts of dynamic pricing, which get into behavioral changes and things like that. So, what we're trying to do is connect with where we think the customers are and what will resonate most loudly with them.
So you said that you think it's too early for communicating things about time of use and pricing, though you guys had a pilot that is often pointed to as one of the most successful time of use pricing. So what are the learnings from PowerSense DC, and why do you say you think it's too early to be rolling that out broader?
Right. I just think what we're experiencing is almost like a little bit too much overload for our customers. And frankly, as the meters are being deployed, there are in fact some issues that are being raised that I think complicate the dialogue. Examples of EMF or radio frequency and issues of choice in terms of being able to opt in and opt out. To try to then engage in something like dynamic pricing and critical peak pricing, things like that, is the customers can't hear us right now. So I think while we're very, very proud of the success we had in the PowerSense DC, we're very proud of that experience, and it's one we're going to learn from and leverage. I just think that our regulators want to see us build the platform first, get the meters deployed flawlessly first. Let's stand on that platform and go forward with the dynamic pricing.
So you talked about a little bit how you think you have an advantage because you operate in decoupled service territories. How do you see that playing out for you relative to other utilities that don't have a decoupled environment?
Well, I think in terms of the use of the word advantage, we're very pleased because part of our overarching approach is to help our customers use less of our product. So if you're a customer, if you're a company that has coupled revenues, the volumetric impact is going to be pretty negative. And for us, with such a significant investment program ahead of us, having that ability to point to that revenue stream is critically important. So that's what decoupling gives us. And I would anticipate that sometime in 2012, when Delaware adopts decoupling, we'll have like 80% of our distribution sales on the decoupling regime. It doesn't guarantee profits. It's a steady revenue stream, but it's very important when you're going to the capital market to be able to raise capital for $5 billion that you can point to a steady revenue stream.
How have you found, as you've been increasingly in decoupled markets, that change your ability to go to the capital markets? What kind of different questions are you getting from investors around the decoupling?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Certainly the rating agencies like it. They see this as part of a lower risk profile that we have in our company. I think that when you're out talking to the equity market, the fact that they can kind of understand the strategy of the smart grid and understanding that this type of approach with decoupling provides, it breaks obviously the volumetric impact. It gives them a little bit more comfort with regard to it. It's protection on economic downside, but it also gives money. We had significant experience last summer with the hot summer. We actually gave a lot of refunds to our customers as we were settling back to the decoupled revenue rate. But my takeaway, to be more direct in your question, is that the capital market, I think, feels very, very comfortable with that kind of a construct.
Do you see that as a trend for the industry? Would you tell your colleagues, fellow CEOs at this conference that it's a good thing?
I think, yeah, I would. And I think that what we've experienced maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we introduced it in our rate case, there were some eyebrows went up, wondering, what are you guys doing? Why do that? But what I've seen is that more and more utilities are migrating towards that. I wouldn't say that it's the majority of cases, but we're certainly not as unique as we used to be. And you see more and more cases that are being filed trying to pursue decoupling.
So last question for you, looking out over the next 3 years, what do you see as the biggest opportunities in smart grid or energy efficiency for Pepco, and what do you see as the biggest challenges?
I think the biggest opportunity is to avoid some of the drama, frankly. And I think that to the extent that we can do that, we'll be able to continue to move ahead in a very good pace. I think Pete Delaney made a comment about the complexity of this, and it is. I mean, this is a massive undertaking, and we want to get it right. And to the extent that we can kind of do it flawlessly, I think we're going to be able to get to the finish line. I think the biggest challenge is going to be kind of the ever-shifting sands of public policy and what that means to our strategy. But I think, almost under any scenario of the future, I think that there's going to remain a very strong emphasis on energy efficiency and helping our customers manage their energy usage. So I feel very strongly that we're on the right path.
Great. Thanks so much.